So first of all, I just wanted to introduce myself quickly. My name is Ali Asaria. I'm the CEO and founder of Tulip, which I'll tell you a little bit about. But I'm really most excited to introduce you to three amazing panelists. One of the things I love about NRF, right, is that in many ways as retailers, we're sort of competing for the same customers, but I feel like there's this really strong spirit at this conference around sharing and coming together as a community. And so one of the things I'm really excited for is to hear about some of the amazing insights and knowledge that our panelists are able to share with the rest of the audience and between themselves. And I'm hoping we'll be able to learn a lot about this focus today, which is all about store experience. But I'll start by letting the panelists introduce themselves. So if you don't mind, if we could just start with Marco, if you could just tell the audience your name and a little bit about yourself.
Ciao everybody, I'm Marco Benasedo, CIO of Boggi Milano. It's a menswear company based almost in Europe and also like some other countries, but no stores in America. And I'm the CIO since a long time in Boggi Milano. In April will be 20 years, and I'm happy to be here with you.
Brendon.
Thanks, Ali. My name is Brendon Gerisch. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for John Elliott, a men's and women's fashion wear brand based out of Los Angeles. My role encompasses overseeing our retail channel for all of our physical brick and mortar locations, as well as our wholesale business globally. And I live in Los Angeles with my wife and my 2-year-old child.
And I'm Rissa. I'm VP of Retail at Jenni Kayne. I've been there 7 years. We're based out of Los Angeles. Our mission is really to help women live well, and so we're a lifestyle brand. I'm very happy to be here today.
Awesome, thank you. So let me quickly tell you about why store experience is so important for Tulip. I remember starting the company about 9 years ago, and we had this really strong belief that store experiences could be so much better than they are today, but there's so many things holding us back. Customers today are expecting more than ever before from stores, but everything from the technology to the way we enable our stores feels like it needs a big push, but there's pieces missing. And Tulip's job, we believe, is really to add that layer of technology, next generation technology, that allows us to unlock the best experiences inside our stores, a lot by unlocking the potential of store associates. And so we'll talk a little bit about that, but we'd love to see you at our booth too, if you have more questions about what Tulip does. But today is actually about these three folks, and so let's get right into a bunch of what I hope are interesting questions. I think the context for what we're talking about today is, post-pandemic, there's been a whole bunch of questions about what does today's customer look like and what are they expecting, right? Everything changed in the last 3 years, I think we all know. And there's a bunch of questions around, does everything go back to what it was looking like 3 years ago? Does the customer expect new experiences that are unlocked by digital? And what I'd love to hear from the three folks here, how are they thinking about today's customer in the context of everything that's happened in the last 5 years? What we're seeing at Tulip is that the last couple of years have made customers see the potential of how products and experiences can transcend commerce in a way that goes much beyond some of the buzzwords, just like omni-channel and things like that, where customers really say, hey, I should be the center of these experiences, but the way the information and product and experience flows could come from multiple touch points, and they should all be connected. And so I think there's a theme there that we might uncover here, but I'd love to hear how the folks here are thinking about that. So I have a bunch of questions. We're going to try to get through them, and if we have time at the end, we'll open it up to the audience as well. And so hopefully some of the questions you hear today will kick off an interesting conversation. So my first question is, it used to be that the store was defined by its location and its inventory. The rule of the store, I think we all know, is so much bigger today. What makes a great store experience today? Maybe Rissa, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I think at Jenni Kayne, what we're looking for from a great store experience is a feeling. Like, we want our customers leaving the doors with a feeling where they're gonna tell someone at dinner, I had this great experience by great customer service, by a beautiful space, by a trained team, by people who are invested, by technology that's supporting everything we do. So I think a great store experience is super, takes so many levers, but it really just comes back to giving that customer a feeling that they want to walk out of the door and come back.
Amazing. Marco, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I totally agree with her because we work every day on the user experience and to create the best comfort situation for the customer that is coming from digital, it's coming from marketplace, from our stores. So our job is for sure the best goal is create a comfort zone for the customer, and the customer, when he's happy, is the great store experience.
Okay, I love that. And Brendon, I'd love to hear from you on this.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what Rissa was just saying. I mean, you know, with stores across the United States, all of our markets are quite different, but I think the biggest similarity is the people in our store have a genuine interest in connecting relationships and building relationships with their customer. And so I'd say the first thing that they do every day is think about, what am I going to do today that's going to be great for my customer, and how can I engage with them in a really natural way that just makes them want to be a part of what we're doing and embrace that. So, you know, Tulip's obviously been a big part of that and kind of bridging the gap on communication. And, you know, we have key customers in a lot of our stores who come in multiple times a week because of that. So.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I kind of hinted at this, and I'd love to hear from maybe a couple of you on just how you think customers have changed in the last 18 months. Is there someone who'd like to grab that question?
Yeah, I think for us, you know, as certainly as a digitally native brand and having expanded quite a bit on the physical brick and mortar over the last 18 months and really leaning in during the pandemic into those in-store experiences, I think the customer more than ever wants to engage with product physically, you know, and I think for us that was always sort of our Achilles heel, was you couldn't touch and feel what made our product so great. And so having stores now enables us to do that and connect with them and educate them on why we feel our product is great, the type of quality and make, and really just, you know, educating them, I think, because we travel the world to create this amazing product, and they get to experience it with our associates in store who can really, you know, educate them on that. So I think it's really been an interesting shift, certainly in the last 9 months, even when you think about everybody kind of wanting to go back into retail stores.
Amazing. Anyone else want to jump at that question?
I mean, I agree. I think that, you know, it's really about getting a customer to like touch and feel your product and like bringing it to life. That's something we can't do online, and it sets us apart. I think, you know, the Jenni Kayne customer is super savvy. So they want an omni-channel experience. You have to meet them on their terms. That means if someone comes in and they want a lot of engagement, we're there. If they want, you know, less engagement, we're there. So it's reading the customer. So I think there's a lot of moving parts to a great retail experience.
Also in the world of fashion, customer has changed, probably due on the older in terms of age, due by the pandemic period, because the change was mandatory. Someone was not so digital and became digital because locked at home and no chance to have other kind of experience. And also take a look at the new generations that is coming up, our new customer with different way to move, and that could be a change in the customer because they are really different with us.
Amazing. Okay, interesting. I've noticed every question that I've asked, even if it's about experience, the word customer is mentioned multiple times, and I think that's a big theme here, right? Is this kind of centrality of everything around, really thinking about the customer first, right? So this is my favorite question. Imagine there's a bunch of folks in the audience that run stores. They're thinking about the ideas they're going to do in 2023 and 2024. Do you have any insights of something you did in the last maybe 18 months that impressed customers? Maybe something that you didn't think would be amazing but got a really great reaction. Is there some insight you can share around something you've done that's really impressed customers?
I mean, I guess I can start. I think one of the things that we've embarked on certainly this last year was going back to fundamentals and basics, and this kind of goes a little bit against, you know, using Tulip. Handwritten notes for us has been a big lever of just kind of showing that extra personal touch, which feels kind of old school, but it is, I think, inherent when you open a piece of mail and you can open that and have that be handwritten from someone. So I think that balanced out with the type of outreach digitally has been really helpful. And then I think lastly, you know, it's about remembering those special little details about a customer that tells them that you're thinking about them. I mean, with your platform, being able to have, custom notes and things about that customer, their anniversaries, their birthdays, their child's birthdays, things that are just, again, show that you are paying attention and that you care about that relationship and that it's a unique sort of connection. So I think those are things that we've really focused on last year to kind of help us set ourselves apart.
Amazing.
I can go. I think the basics are so important and always loop back to those. But I think at Jenni Kayne, we do a lot of events and surprise and delights. For example, once a month we have Floral Fridays. A customer that shops, they just get a free bouquet of flowers. That's like, wow, that's super special. They're getting something they weren't expecting. So I think surprising customers and keeping them on their toes is just a way to make it interesting, which we're trying to always do.
Oh, I love that.
And on our part, we do every day something to try to impress customer. And we change in terms of non-technology, we change a lot of things in our kind of collection. We were so formal, now we are also active. We do a lot of things in the stores to impress. We use from the pandemic period also an application like Tulip to engage the customer in digital way that was not so much in our path and in our sales ceremony. And I think that every day you have to do a small piece of something to impress the customer.
Amazing. Okay, so I think we sort of touched on this in the last question, but I wanted maybe we dig in a little bit deeper. As we were prepping for the talk, the panelists were talking a little bit about attending NRF, and right before you attend this show, I'm sure some of you experience this too, you get flooded with emails because somehow, a million marketers from a million companies want to get a hold of you. One of the panelists actually said he has a filter for the word NRF, and they all go in a certain box. But I think that I'm sure all of you experience this idea of just being flooded with emails that sort of feel personal but aren't really personal, and you're trying to filter through those. And so I'd love to touch on this idea of, in a world where everyone is getting outreach from every brand and every different type of message from every different company, how do you cut through that and make it feel like you have a genuine human connection with your customer? You mentioned bouquets of flowers, you mentioned handwritten notes. Is there more you can add to that idea of how do you make it really personal in this world where there's so much outreach?
I mean, I guess for us, at John Elliott, we really lean pretty heavily on our associates and using their own voice. I think there's an element of sort of training, and I hate to use the word scripted, but I mean, there are some sort of templates, obviously, that you can use in the training process so that there's some consistency for us as a brand. But I think at the end of the day, we hire people because they're great people, and I think they're interesting people, and I think that's what goes a long way when you're trying to build authentic relationships in a retail store with a customer is, do you want to come and talk to this person? Do you enjoy talking to them? It's not just about selling you a product. Anybody can do that, right? It's really about engaging with them and building a true lasting relationship that they might even follow you to the next store that you go to or the next brand that you work for. So I think that's really the value in personal versus personalized service.
I love that.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that, we want the customer walking by our store and coming in with their dog to get a dog treat. They're not going to buy, but we're having that relationship. So it's all about building community. And I just echo everything he said. And I also think it goes back to the art of selling. If you are invested in what you do, the product you do, the customer in front of you, at the point of purchase, they should be wanting to give you their information. They're wanting us to add them to Tulip because they know that the sweater is coming in another color because you planted the seed earlier, and it's a no-brainer. So I just think showing up, being authentic, and all the things mentioned.
Amazing.
But in fashion industry, personalized or tailored is something that is expected from ever. And personal is something that we are working on because going to find the one-to-one relationship is something that now customer is coming to expecting. And a company like ours have too many customers in the same basket or split in small groups and given to a sales assistant that is able to deliver a personal experience is something that is coming in this new period.
Interesting, yeah.
But personalized is typical of the fashion.
It's kind of demanded, right? That makes sense, right? Yeah. I remember when we were starting the company at Tulip, some of the best retailers would introduce us to their best associates. And you met these wonderful people. A new product would come in from head office and they would know the names of someone who would love that and they would give them like a personal phone call. And these brands would talk to us about, maybe only 10% of their associates were that amazing, but there's a bit of like an 80-20 rule where they perform so much better than everyone else. And so a lot of the irony of a company like Tulip is we're trying to build technology, but in a way we're sort of trying to do it to get out of the way of great associates, or in another way of looking at it, allow the other 80% of associates that haven't learned all those skills, give them the tools to be able to behave in that way. Mm-hmm. But in the end, it is sort of like technology trying to get out of the way of people so that you can build those real human connections. And it's interesting that we're talking about that when it's, we're selling apparel. It's funny, right? So I'd love to kind of, pulling from that, I'd love to think about, what changes to be like more responsive, right? So this idea of, I think a theme that I talk to a lot, especially with CIOs, is that if they want to make changes inside their e-commerce world, hey, we want to try featuring another product or changing price points, that's something that we can do overnight. Do an A/B test or see what the results look like in a very quick amount of time. But making changes in stores, it's not so simple, right? You have to deploy that new concept. It has to be deployed across like different training teams. It feels in a certain sense that stores by nature are slow and e-commerce is sort of fast, but we want to live in a world where everything can be kind of agile. We can learn and test and change. And so how have you thought about that? I'd love to maybe start with some of the digital native companies that started digital and moved physical. How have you thought about stores and being inspired by the agility of technology on the e-commerce side and bringing that into the store? How do you think about that?
You want to go first?
Yeah, you go for it.
Okay. I think at Jenni Kayne, I think historically we've kind of inconvenienced our stores, meaning, we have to keep up with e-commerce. So that means if a change is made on e-commerce, we have to deploy it to the store super fast, change signage, get the message, great communication, a lot of people pivoting and being like super open-minded in their thinking to be able to react quickly. And I think, as we've seen this over the last few years, something we're trying to do is get more structure around that so that there's structure, and then within the structure, there will be changes and pivoting. So it's definitely a work in progress, but we're trying our best. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for us too at John Elliott, one of the unique aspects of what made our digital business successful tends to be one of the Achilles heels of physical retail, which is sort of this drop model concept of a new product every other day and how you can kind of communicate that, split that, display that in a store, and then engage with your customer. So I think on that side, engaging with the customer, it's kind of easy because you have more touch points. New products constantly means more outreach and ways to kind of engage with them and say, hey, I have something that you'd like that's coming out on Friday, come on by. But I think that sort of lead time to get there in retail, to your point, you have to be really quick and you have to be super dialed into the communication flow because things move so fast on digital. To your point, Ali, you're kind of chasing in a way in a retail store. And at the end of the day, as long as we're getting it there for the customer, that's all that's important. So
I will add to that like Tulip's great for that, and we're new with Tulip. We've only had Tulip 3 months, but like now we're being able to add a template in for our team. So it's like we can put all the information super strategically, so then now they can do their work. So that's actually been really great.
Also in our case, we try to work on digital and move to the physical and vice versa. Test on a channel and move to the other, but in terms of better on a channel or on another, you can work to create a omni-channel experience. So is there something that you have to slow down and be ready on all the channel to keep more unique the path that you are going to sell to the customer.
That makes sense. I personally really believe that retailers who figure this out, this idea of like, hey, we've had a drop model online, how do we make that happen in the stores, and question the assumptions behind stores have to be slow, I believe that's really a big unlock for retailers. So it's neat to see how you're thinking about that. Okay, so maybe this is a bit more of a question for Brendon and Rissa. I'd love to hear about what you think, what you see, or what you've seen maybe from your past too, but what do you think brands get wrong about store experience, right?
I think for us at John Elliott, when we think about creating store experience, we want there to be a sense of discovery. And I think to do that, you kind of have to let the product breathe, and you have to create stories and create this aspirational way of dressing. It's something we talk about all the time. Show them how to wear a certain thing. How do you pair back this amazing new leather jacket to this amazing new wash of denim that's made in Japan? How do you translate that so that they can find that on their own sometimes? Because not everybody wants an associate following them, but if you jam pack your store with product, it's harder to find things. So I think that for us, we focus a lot on creating moments within the store so that the customer can really kind of explore it on their own and understand it in a really sort of tactile way.
I love that. I definitely think at Jenni Kayne less is more too. Visually, it's just easier to shop. What I think brands get wrong, we opened 7 stores last year, and I think that when we hire a manager, it's like we're handing over a small business to them. We really want them to have accountability over everything, and our store managers, our sales associates, everyone on the team, they really care. So I think if you have the right people, everything can be taught. So just making sure you invest in your people, and making it a great place to work, and then it's going to thrive.
That's awesome.
What brands get wrong? Probably those brands that don't look at the market with a point of view really interested to understand what is happening and what I can do tomorrow that I have to think to now, because tomorrow, if I start to think tomorrow, probably I'm already in late. So probably those brands that don't take a look to try to get a better experience day by day and understand what the customer is asking.
Okay, awesome.
That if it's possible that is different from what you are giving him.
Amazing. Okay. So I think all of you flew into New York for NRF. What are the stores that you go to visit to say, hey, I want to learn what they're doing next? What are the ones where you see as aspirational or you're most inspired by in terms of brands that you look up to or want to learn more from? Right?
I live there.
Yeah, you want to ask them?
I live there.
Maybe for Brendon and Rissa, go ahead.
I think for me, when I come to New York, oftentimes I'm so busy I don't get to spend that much time shopping in other stores, which is a shame. But I enjoy both mono brand and multi brand. I think we work with some of the best stores in the world on the wholesale side. We have a great business with Saks Fifth Avenue, and their flagship store here is absolutely beautiful. Bergdorf Goodman's one of my favorites on the men's side. But I also think from a mono brand perspective, the new Hermes store on Madison is phenomenal. They do a great job of creating that sort of mix of old and new. I think with the old world of sort of clienteling and how you engage with the customer and the new way of sort of creating these moments that I was talking about earlier in store. I also personally love Chanel as a brand as well. So I think there's a lot of great brands that certainly here in New York with flagships do it in a really, really great way.
Yeah, I think, what stores do I admire? at Jenni Kayne, we're a lifestyle store. So I think in general, I'm leaning towards lifestyle stores, something that can really just encompass so many things. We carry home, apparel, shoes, beauty, and there's other brands, like Goop that's doing the same thing, and they also have great content. So it's always surprising the customer and keeping them interested. So yeah, that's what I'm interested in right now.
Awesome. So I know, Marco, you have feelings on this. What would you say the impact technology has on customer experience?
The technology now is impacting everything of our life. So also our job, in my case, and the user experience of the customer that come into our store or in our website. I think that the technology is impacting, but the real job is to understand which ones are a good technology to put in our stores, which technology can give a better experience to our customer. And one of the best things that you can do is not only delivery technology in the store, but also work very hard with an academy session to your sales assistant, because they must be able to use this technology. Because if you go into a store where there is the best technology, the best application, the best tablet, but the sales assistant is not able to use it,
Right.
You make a great disaster. Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So from my point of view, is great to choose the right technology, and my colleagues they have to work on the sales assistant that have to be able to use it.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. I remember talking to a CIO saying his biggest challenge was he was deploying new technology out to all the stores, but the iPad was just being put under the shelf. And so he said, I can deploy all of the best tools, but if we don't show the folks how to use it, and then also give them the incentives to actually do the work, sometimes if there's extra steps, it's never going to be successful, right? Do you have anything to add, Brendon, Rissa?
Yeah, I think, for us thinking about the two different channels, because we're omni-channel, digital, obviously, technology really drives that business, right? And it's just fast, and you're constantly trying to keep up with the new technology to be relevant. But I think in stores, it's a little bit opposite. I think a sign of good technology is that it's sort of quiet and you don't really see it. It's not in your face. The customer doesn't know necessarily that you have the technology. And I think that's what makes the experience that much better, is that they don't necessarily know. One I'd say, exclusion from that would be, we've started to test out these mobile POS sort of systems in our store. That's been a really interesting way now to think about moving away from the cash wrap, taking that experience onto the sales floor. So it's a little bit more engaging. You're engaging with the customer, and it's not behind this curtain of sort of secrecy that's happening in the back. It's like, I'm out there still continuing the conversation with you while I'm ringing you up. That's been kind of a game changer for us.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I would just say that, we live in a really fast-paced environment, and technology just supports us being able to operate at the speed we need to. With something like Tulip, I think, clienteling is so important. It's one of the biggest levers in developing clients, customers, a business. So it does really it gives our sales associates the tools to all be optimal clientelers, whereas historically pre-Tulip, maybe it's like a smaller percentage, but everyone can now, optimize and develop client relationships.
Oh, amazing. Okay. Well, I think this is the last question. It's a two-parter, and then we'll be able to open it up to the audience if there's any questions. And it's about predicting the future. And so I'd love to hear, we talked a lot about the change that's happened over the last 18 months. I'd love to hear from some of you around the predictions you have for the next 2 years, 3 years, for what could change from customer expectations or what's expected out of stores. I think we'd all love to hear even some of your far out predictions if you have some ones that are even a bit out there. And then the second part is, what are you doing to adapt to that change? So what are your predictions for the next couple of years for stores and customer expectations, and what are you doing to adapt for that? Marco, do you want to start?
Yes, I think that in the next 2-3 years, we have to consolidate what we have done in the last 2 years, because in Europe, in the fashion, we have had 2 very particular years, strange. So a lot of things we have done to survive at coronavirus. Now is the time to consolidate everything, focus on the business, focus on our customer, on the technology that we introduce in our stores, and to work to homogenize everything. Okay. Then, as I told you before, take a look at what's happening, at what customer will ask us, and be very quick in the reaction and understanding this new needing if they came up. And then we have also to better understand metaverso, what will grow, what will become, and how and if will impact our way to work.
Amazing. Okay, Brendon, same question, but I also want you to answer if the metaverse matters.
What's the metaverse? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think I'm personally excited for the future of retail. Certainly coming out of the pandemic, things changed significantly, and I think, we as a brand at Jenna really leaned into physical, as I talked about earlier, and opening 3 stores in the right in the heart of the pandemic was pretty key to us. Building a new way of talking to our customers. So I think for us, we're definitely thinking about more stores. We're thinking about international. We're thinking about just continuing to really create deeper relationships. And I think Tulip has been a big part of that, investing in more technology on the back end to really drive the engine that is store growth. But I think, for me, I think about our brand and where we're going. It's going to be really interesting to see how that customer continues to kind of pivot in and out of omni-channel. I mean, we look at that a lot. Are they crossing over in multiple markets? Are they shopping online and in store? As they become closer to the brand and they do all of those things, it's very clear that customer is engaging with us much more, and certainly they're spending more because of that too. So I think we're just constantly trying to find ways to close that loop and make it easier to engage with us, whether it's in store or online. And today I'd say we're just really thinking about more investment on the back end as far as technology, and also bridging the gap between digital clienteling and store clienteling.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think my prediction for the future is I just don't know what the future is going to be. And you need to really lean into that, like lean into what's working and be able to change. And so I think the future is unknown, and that's okay. I believe in retail, so I'm not scared of the future. But I think like what we're doing to, with that is just thinking big, not limiting ourselves, and just knowing that it's all going to work out if you do all the right things. So yeah, that's my answer.
That's amazing. Well, one of the reasons we wanted to speak to all 3 of you is that Tulip, we were looking at a lot of the customers we work with and giving a lot of thought around who are the brands that other folks aspire to be like, but especially who's doing it right? I think all of you are expanding in footprint. Customers just love what you're doing, and everyone I know talks about, like, when are they opening more stores? When can you be in North America? Because people can't wait. And so you're all doing something right. And I think that's really impressive. And I'm sure a lot of the folks here, I'm hoping, learned a bunch from you, and I'm sure they have more questions. With that, I'd love to the audience. Oh, I think did my mic cut out? Oh, is there anyone in the audience with questions for any of our panelists today? And if you do have a question, I'd love if you could come to the mic. Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey guys, thanks. Might be kind of a tactical question, I'm not sure, and Ali, I think you want to add your opinion too. I'm curious how you think about the role and relationship between your POS and your clienteling solution. There's obviously a lot of folks building clienteling into POS or great clienteling tools, adding things closer to POS. I think we all have some perspectives on what's worked well, what doesn't. I was curious how you've thought about it, what that journey's been going back and forward, and just how do you make them both sing in the best way possible together?
Yeah, and it's a great question. Before you answer too, it is a great question to ask because if you watched our booth and heard some of the announcements from Tulip, what we're announcing at NRF is actually a POS with clienteling embedded. And so if you're interested in this idea of the intersection of point of sale and clienteling, definitely come by our booth. We have lots to talk about. But maybe love to hear from the audience of how you're thinking of those two sides of things and the intersection of the two, right? Oh, sorry.
We can't.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
So I think just like a seamless communication between them is important, but being separate also does work to our benefit, where we're able to make a habit of signing into Tulip, going to your book, because it's all about habits, clienteling. So yeah, I agree with what you said.
Also because they're able to use Tulip from anywhere, where the Shopify POS they can't. They use it on. We actually rolled it out on your own device, so our associates have it on their own devices. They could be. We talk about this. We joke. They could be on vacation in Hawaii and have a customer reach out to them, and they're sitting there on Tulip communicating with their customer and making a sale while they're on vacation with a pina colada in their hand. You know what I mean? That's pretty amazing when you think about that in the modern day of technology. So.
So Marco, you're not on Shopify,
No.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
How do you have two separate systems? How do you manage the connectivity
Yes,
between the two?
we are with different systems. We drive the e-commerce with a platform, POS with another, and clienteling with Tulip. A great project with a great integration can do the goal all the time, and no problem. The application must be simple, usable, and very well known by the sales assistant. So then you can increase and you can do everything, but simple and usable.
Amazing. Okay. I think we have time for maybe one more question from the audience. Do you have?
Hey. So a lot of retailers have been facing some hard times with the labor market just over the pandemic. I'm curious if you guys faced that and how you overcame, the maybe lack of talent, lack of much talent as you're opening stores. Just curious about the challenges you faced.
I think giving yourself enough time to recruit is half the battle. So if you're going into a new market, going early enough, meeting the stores around you, introducing yourself to those store managers, those teams, going to like-minded brands. And, we really haven't had a lack of talent issue. I just think giving ourselves way more time than we ever anticipated was a learning curve. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would add to that too that I think we've also had to be a little more thinking outside of the box when it comes to what the typical store team structure looks like. What might have been, a store manager, a supervisor, 3, full-time. We've had to kind of get creative with that and really hire people for who they are, not just the fact that they can work full-time and fit the role that we said we need. So, I'll use our Soho store as an example. We have a majority of our, strongest associates in that store are part-time.
Right.
And that we had to kind of think creatively around that and kind of break outside of what a traditional mold of store staffing was because we hired the right talent. So.
Awesome. Anything to add, Marco? No? Well, with that, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming. I hope you all feel the energy in the air. It's awesome to have NRF back. I really want to thank the panelists once again for just being so generous with your time and all of the advice. I hope everyone in the audience appreciated it and got something to learn. And just one more time, if you do get a chance, please feel free to drop by our booth at Tulip. We'd love to show you a demonstration of what next generation POS, clienteling, and store systems could look like. And let's continue the conversation. Thank you, everybody.